to school and me just a chill, sir. School fee paid. Books bought. Thanks to CNWJ Back to School Special. I borrowed $100,000 and paid less than $10,000 for 12 months. This couldn't miss me.
Get your child classroom ready. Start the school year strong with a CNWJ Back to School Special from August 1 to September 30. Low processing fee. Approval within 24 hours. Conditions apply. CNWJ Credit Union. Discover the benefits of belonging.
Are you ready to step into increase? Join us for the 4th annual Accelerate Pastors and Leaders Conference hosted by Transformed Life Church, a power-packed 3-day conference designed to inspire, equip, and empower you as pastors and church leaders. Thursday, October 9, 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Friday, October 10, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and Saturday, October 11, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Plus, we have a bonus event Friday at 6:30 p.m. for you and all your leaders. Come and connect with visionary speakers and engage in dynamic sessions to help increase your input in your church communities like never before. For more information and to register, visit the website at accelerate.leader.net or call 876-371-0983. See you there.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We do apologize for the delayed start. A special welcome to our listeners on love101f.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the first watch today and in the second watch. We have snapshots of news right across both watches. We will be looking at quite a number of topics, and among the topics that we will be looking at today in both watches, we have here we have a slight challenge with our technology this morning. I ask that you bear with us slightly. We'll be looking at elections. We'll be looking at how persons are going to be reacting to the election results, how persons will be treating with the today elections. We'll be looking at a number of other issues which are probably not so relevant to elections but are quite interesting and topical. We're going to be looking at issues such as the whole matter of China's pregnancy robot. We'll be looking at global suspension of shipments and killings under the influence, and more anon on that. And in terms of our social media question, it is, are you on your way to vote? Jukal, are you on your way to vote, Jukal?
I'm here. I'm here.
Are you on your way to vote? Share your responses on our Love 101 Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on the program, but first, as I quote.
All right, today's I quote says, your job is to plant the seed, your job is to plant the seed, not change their heart. Don't get your role and God's role mixed up. This is an unknown one.
Another unknown, interesting. Your job is to, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That one is an interesting one, seeing that we're going to be looking at the robotic pregnancy. Your job is to plant the seed. Well, more anon.
Yeah.
We move right in to the first watch here. We are going to be looking at pregnant robots, suspended posts, and drug-induced killings. Topics we're hoping to explore in our snapshots of the news in the first segment today on the Morning Watch. Our guests are Michael Diamond, President, Consumers Intervention Jamaica, and we also have O'Dane Brooks, a political and social commentator. We don't have Mr. Brooks yet. We hope to have him on. He, I gather, might be having a challenge. I'm not too sure in terms of connecting with us this morning. But so far we have Mr. Diamond. Mr. Diamond, are you with us yet?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael Diamond. Good to have you on as usual, sir. And it has been reported that China is creating robots with artificial wombs to assist in increasing their birth rate. And this is to be implemented by 2026. And we are seeing where it has been reported in the Observer, this whole matter of robotic pregnancies. We have seen it in a couple of other sources internationally as well. Michael Diamond, what on earth is happening? Robotic pregnancy?
Well, we're not surprised. I don't imagine anyone would be surprised because for the directions that we've been going since the industrial age. Actually, everything goes from mechanical to digital to the point now we are utilizing robotics in such a way. And if I'm not mistaken, my understanding of it is that it wouldn't it would actually be carrying the fetus to a development stage and then birth, but not actually a robot actually getting impregnated. So I don't see too much of why there's such an alarm because if in fact we can almost compare it to when a child is premature and
No,
they have
no,
to be in an
no, no,
incubator.
no, 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 different thing, Mr. Diamond. But continue your thought. Continue.
No, no, not that. When I'm referring to is the fact that it's not that robots are actually getting impregnated. The idea of it is that the robot we're really extending a machine that we would use for in cases example for when they are preemies and they have to be in an incubator until
No,
they're
that
matured.
there's no
So
equivalence.
right. So when you say that we're looking at there's no impregnation happening. So what would you what would you imagine is happening with a robot that would carry a fetus
Well,
to the development stage?
what would a woman say to you after she has had the child or even during the pregnancy? She's developing a connection with the life inside of her body, isn't she? So you're denying the woman of this? I'm just putting that to you, Mr. Diamond.
No, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm sure there would be. I'm sure that as remarkable as the idea is, we know
Yeah.
that there are, it's similar to when the discussion about cloning came up. So we certainly would want to look and see what the development is actually going to be. But nevertheless, I don't view it beyond the medical urgency or emergency of a situation, rather than saying is a baby making machine that will be out there just to be popping them out, regardless of the fact that they're utilizing it to increase their population.
Okay, well, let's just put away some of the shock of it and just look at it from another angle. Is it that we are now saying or sending the signal that we should be separating human beings that much more from human reproduction? So, in other words, you just need to have an egg and a sperm somewhere. Maybe they're in a lab, and with whatever technology, it it gets into this robot by whichever relevant means, and then you could quote unquote have a baby factory. You don't need man and woman to come together anymore the way that God intended. Michael Diamond.
From that perspective, there are some very serious ethical issues that have to
Which
be
is why
considered, obviously.
which is why I
you
put it
know
that way.
And you're absolutely correct because that act in itself, that part that nature allows us to play, man and woman. The fact of the matter is that level of disconnect. There's no telling what will occur because of that, and we are to be as guarded. I would imagine from that standpoint, we have to be as guarded as we are, especially with GMO, foods and products. We must treat this very similar, not knowing the type of ecological effects that this can happen to separate that significant bond because there's something more physical, more than physical, there's a very spiritual bond that occurs in that
Yeah.
process. So you have to be very careful.
And legally, whose child is it? That's a legal question now I'm posing to myself and to you and maybe to those
You know,
listening. Whose child is
this,
it?
this we haven't gotten there as yet, but I imagine the fact that isn't this very similar to someone who would donate their eggs for assisting, other females who are unable to, whose child is it? So
Yeah.
again, there's some very serious ethical issues here that needs to be considered.
So is the government the parent? Does the child belong to a corporation? Who's the mommy and who's the daddy? Is there a mommy and a daddy?
The Eventually we will see that the state will be the parent, as the
Do
state
you,
attempts to be parents even now.
do you want the state to be the parent? Does the state want to
Absolutely
be the
not.
parent? Does the state
Um,
want to
uh,
be the parent?
well, we again, let us not get there. Hopefully we won't get there because there's some very serious
But
issues.
we have to ask Mr. Diamond because I mean, I'm not trying to compare it to a situation of state care, which we now have, but if it's not clear as to who the parents are, then technically who's the guardian? Is it the state? Anyway,
Well, we know that once there's a life within the jurisdiction of that particular state, the state will take responsibility over its protection. Now, unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that many individuals are not too comfortable with the Chinese and their developments, which seems to be against the environment and against humanity at times. So there's always that caution, but we do have to look for what can be the benefits of how that particular invention or idea can assist medically, but not in a manner that would replace, the role of a woman and the role of the man, especially in something so delicate.
it's if you go this route of robotic pregnancies, then you are doing a replacement. I think. I don't know if you agree, but to me, the replacement is already there. Well, more and on this, Mr. Diamond. We keep watching this development and see where it goes from here. Can we switch gears for a moment, or
Absolutely.
should we wait until after the break? Because I think we're almost upon a break already. Never enough time on the morning watch. I think I'm getting a signal. Let us hold that thought for a moment. We're going to look at the whole matter of shipments and packages, etc., etc. Shipments on being challenged, Mr. Diamond. Hold that thought for a second, Mr. Diamond, and of course, listeners, we'll be right back on the morning watch.
We're in the hurricane season and the hottest time of the year. But no worries, Lanco has you covered. By the way, you're covered with Lanco Cool Guard or Urethanizer roof coating yet? Use Lanco roof coatings to waterproof your roof and also benefit from a cooler home with our advanced Thermoflex technology. Get 10 to 20% discount on Lanco Urethanizer and Cool Guard roof coating island-wide this hurricane season. Lanco, your waterproofing expert. Nothing beats the Love 101 September Bonanza. That's 15% off any advertising package. That's more savings, more spots, and more reach for your business. But don't wait. This offer ends September 30. Call us now at 876-968-9596 or email sales and marketing at love101.org. Let's grow together. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch and we're looking at a snapshot of the news. In this first watch, we'll be looking at, well, we looked at already the matter of China's pregnancy robot. China's pregnancy robot. Where is all this going? We'll be looking at global suspension of shipments in a moment, and then killings under the influence. Our guests are Michael Diamond, and we're now being joined by O'Dane Brooks. Yes, O'Dane Brooks is now on, I gather. Good morning, Mr. Brooks.
Hi, good morning, Stokeley. Good to be here again. And good morning to your listeners and to Mr. Diamond.
Always good having you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Diamond as well. We know you're back with us, sir, Mr. Diamond. Now,
Yes,
this
yes.
matter of global suspension of shipments, a young father accused, well, I'm so sorry, moving on here. Jamaica Post has announced the suspension of sending all parcels and packets bound for the United States. This was made effective Tuesday, August 26th, following an executive order from Washington that ends duty free treatment for low value imports this week. Now, that is interesting. And this is sending shockwaves in terms of a lot of entrepreneurs who engage in businesses where they send things overseas. And it has been indicated that there are similar things taking place in other countries. Mr. Diamond, before we bring in Mr. Brooks, your thoughts? What's
You
going on?
know, this is another one of those knee jerking reactions that has been happening ever since the US has been, in their, it's not necessarily a trade war, but they've certainly been treating tariffs as a way of getting a commercial advantage against their global partners. And this is also a tactic, oftentimes it's almost like bullying in a sense. But what I would say is that it is a welcoming thing because it's also a wake up call to many who have been very complacent with how things have been and they do not foresee how things can change. So, this is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to also look for different resources and build other alliances that can assist them rather than be so dependent upon a particular, act. So, for while it can be, it's quite a disadvantage in the meantime, it also creates an opportunity for us to look elsewhere, to open up other markets and then to have other alliances formed. Because what the tariffs will do, again, each individual is going to look out for their own interests. And that is what is happening in the US, regardless of what can happen outside of those borders. So it's not surprising, you know.
Yes, yes. O'Dane Brooks, Jamaica
I
Post.
I would also join in expressing serious concerns with relation to the significant repercussions it will have, and especially in the context of the impact it will have on MSMEs, because we have a significant segment of our MSME sector that does their trading through the postal service. But I believe we have to take the route of bilateral engagements because we're seeing that the foreign policy outlook from the US has been one that's somewhat schizophrenic. And so,
Schizophrenic? Schizophrenic, Mr. Brooks?
yes,
That's a mental illness,
absolutely. That's the kind of outlook that you're seeing in terms
There
of
are
their.
no, well, I don't think they use the term schizophrenia anymore, but I think it's now bipolar. I think that's a more modern
Okay,
description.
we can embrace that
So are you
description
saying it's bipolar, Mr. Brooks?
in terms of the approach to
Okay.
foreign policy, as some of the erratic behavior.
Erratic.
I would describe it as erratic because you cannot put logics to
No
some of
logic. There's no logic.
what is happening. But I would say we have to use our diplomatic relations as a means to have
Address.
these conversations.
Yes.
But importantly, as Mr. Diamond highlighted, it also is an opportunity for us to diversify our
Yes.
approach to trade and to also look at underserved markets where we haven't penetrated as yet.
Do not
So
put all your eggs in one basket.
certainly not, because we're seeing other markets that hold significant potential. It
Yes.
is just for us to align our foreign policy and our diplomatic relations to open up more opportunities.
Yes. And switching gears again, but before we kind of switch gears fully, Mr. Brooks, we have you on. I don't know if you heard what we spoke of in the first half of this first watch, pregnancy robot. Any comment you want to make before we look at our last topic in terms of snapshots of the news for this segment?
Sure, that's an interesting one, and
It's only interesting.
it is. And I think it reflects where we're going in terms of the clash between innovation, technology, and how do we preserve principles that we've come to hold as sacrosanct. And I heard the tail end of the discussion in terms of the values that we have upheld as to what is natural or what creation intended. So I say it is a conflict between the technology and what is natural. And I think ultimately, as a society, as a country, we have to decide what we are ultimately going to embrace. But it's a case where we cannot stop the development and the evolution, but we have to draw a line in the sand ultimately as to how far is too far and how far are we willing to take it.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Mr. Brooks. Well, we move right into the last bit in terms of snapshots of the news for this first watch. And in terms of a recent story, a young father was accused of murdering 1-year-old son, 3-year-old stepson in Monique St. Anne, it's alleged, and was said to be under the influence of ganja tea. And we're not saying that it's the ganja tea that led him to do whatever, but I mean, we didn't test anything to see if that is the case, but that is what is the story. What are the legal implications of such a situation? And what does it mean? First of all, the alleged killing of anyone. Michael Diamond.
It's a very heart wrenching story, and even more concerning is the outpour from the community members that spoke so glowingly of this individual, and they're all in shock, disbelief, and they all expressed that this is not something that they would expect from this individual. Now, the fact of the matter is that when anyone commits a crime, especially if it is under the influence of something, the law treats with it a certain way, and they take it into consideration. The situation here is that it is way too soon to tell, and we can only hope that there's a thorough investigation behind this, especially because of how the community has responded. So in this situation, and in any situation like this, we have to keep in mind that there are other factors at play, and especially when there are other witnesses that are claiming. You mentioned the ganja tea, and that's very significant because you'll have those individuals would say that they've been doing these things for years and they've never seen this type of reaction. They've never had the same type of inclinations. So there must be something else. Each individual can be affected differently, regardless whether it be a herb, whether it be a drug, whether it be medications. So this is a lot to really unpack, and it's pretty fresh in our minds. So we just have to hope that this investigation is done thoroughly so we can get to the bottom of this, really. But individuals who are held accountable for committing crime when they are not in their right frame of mind, that is something that, under the law is treated with, delicacy. That's the best way for me to put it, because mental illness is very serious, and it's not always going to express itself in ways that society can be comfortable. Sometimes this is the result of it, something very heinous that happens and happens to our children. So it's a very unfortunate incident, and I do hope that a proper investigation is done.
Odin Brooks.
I would also join in my expression of shock at all of what had transpired, and also to express my condolences to the community and the immediate family. This case is one that it is difficult to fully grasp and to understand what could have transpired. But in the absence of a completed investigation at this juncture to enable us to pronounce with all of the facts in front of us, I would say it reflects a wider conversation that we must have as a society as it relates to conflict management, as well as how it twins with mental health challenges. We've seen over time that as a society, we have not developed a good understanding of how to manage conflict. Based on the case right now, I'm not sure of the dynamics as it relates to the mother involved as well. What was the relationship dynamics there? But outside of that, I believe it generally reflects the challenges we have with conflict management, how we're able to resolve issues in a non-violent way. And it also reflects another dimension as it relates to mental health within the society. We have to start with destigmatizing mental health as a subject, because we don't know the state of mind of this individual that brought him to drinking ganja tea, as the preliminary story is indicating. So it shows that we have to redouble the efforts in looking at how we provide easy access to mental health support, and how we socialize that access, as well as to equip our people with the ability to manage the daily stresses of life. But all in all, it is a really sad situation, a very sad story, and we hope that justice will be served at the end of the day, but also having all of the facts taken into account in dispensing the justice.
Well, I think we're just about out of time for this first watch. We'll be looking at snapshots of the news after this break. And of course, both of you gentlemen, Mr. Brooks and Mr. Diamond, will be joining us in the second watch as well. And we welcome your further comments when we get to the second watch. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Start your journey with a JN Small Business Loan with small business loans as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million. The time by JN Small Business Loan is
7:31 a.m.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
See so you can make the part, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Don't let freshness ditch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
We've seen
seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together, because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move.
Always a good move when you're moving with Grace.
It's back to school and time to do the math. Limited funds divided by big school fees.
Stretched budget minus book list, backpack, and new uniforms.
With Sagicor Bank Back to School unsecured loan, you can borrow up to $5 million. No security needed. Fast approval. Up to 5 years to repay. And flexible loan options.
Problem solved, Dad.
Crown.
Thanks, Daddy.
Be crowned a Back to School champion parent with Sagicor Bank unsecured loans. Apply at sagicor.com. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the physical copy of the Daily Observer, on the front page, we have tiebreaker. JLP PNP in dogfight as Jamaicans vote in 19th general election. That story by Arthur Hall. And also on the front page of the Daily Observer, there is reference to a story at page 5, or to an item of news at page 5, and it reads, Jamaica Observer hosts live election coverage online. So that is the Daily Observer. And in terms of the lead stories in the Gleaner online, we have a similar headline, tiebreaker. And in terms of other lead stories in the Gleaner, we have history against them. And this is in relation to not the PNP and the JLP, but against the newer political parties and independent candidates. The headline reads, History Against Them. We also have, among the lead stories, JLP's Western dominance faces stern test today. Other stories include Manning School unveils state-of-the-art alumni-funded block. And we also have Downtown Kingston revival gathers pace under, quote, Our City Kingston, unquote. Those and many other stories in our news sources. Coming up next, of course, we will read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook and YouTube and WhatsApp question. And again, our question is, are you on your way to vote? Are you on your way to vote? Are you on your way to vote, Trickle? No answer. Okay. And if you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 1FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Back to school, I'm just a chill, sir. School fee paid. Books bought. Thanks to CNWJ Back to School Special. I borrowed $100,000 and paid less than $10,000 for 12 months. This couldn't miss me.
Get your child's classroom ready. Start the school year strong with a CNWJ Back to School Special from August 1 to September 30. Flow processing fee. Approval within 24 hours. Conditions apply. CNWJ Credit Union. Discover the benefits of belonging.
Did you know that many girls still lack access to period products and that they can miss up to 1 year of school? But together, we can change that reality. The End Period Poverty campaign, sponsored by Always, is here. From August 1st to September 30th, for every pack of Always products you purchase, we donate a pad to girls in need. Go to your local supermarket and help our girls have access to period products.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley. Marshall Jukal, do we have any responses to the feedback question?
All right, we have some responses. Raymar Finn says, good morning, about to go. Nikki from Patrick City says, no. Edna from Montego Bay, voice note, let's hear from her.
Good morning, Morning Watch. Good morning, Love 101 listeners and staff. Yes, I'm on my way to vote. First, I'm on my way to work. Then in the afternoon, I have prepared both physically and mentally to go and cast my vote. So definitely in the afternoon, I will be on my way to vote.
All right, thank you, Edna. Cherry says, I'm on my way to work. That is Cherry. Thank you so much.
And Jukal hasn't answered yet. Well, you said you were in the studio.
Let's move on to the second watch.
Indeed, we move right into the second watch. We continue with our snapshots of the news, and we have our guests who are rejoining us. We have Dane Brooks, who is a policy research consultant and of course a social and political commentator, and we do have again Mr. Michael Diamond, who is president of Consumers Intervention Jamaica. We continue our look at snapshots of the news in this second watch, but looking at some other topics, kind of focusing on what typically tends to happen on election day. And, well, Jukal will be at work, right? What do people do on election day sometimes? Is it almost considered like an almost quasi holiday? People are sort of very consumed with what's going to be the result of the elections. People are not so focused. They're not concentrating as much at work. Maybe people are less productive. People will be taking time off as the law allows for them to do, to go and vote. What happens after that? There are a couple of offices which are going to be closing early today, or there'll be reduced activity. So what typically happens on election day? And do people, how do people view the results of the election at the end of the day? Is it that they zone out, tune out? Is it that they're going to be excited or overly excited depending on what the result is? A couple of these issues we're going to be looking at in this second watch topic, snapshots of the news this morning. And starting with you, Dane Brooks, what are your thoughts? When we have an election day, what is it like? Is it just seen as a kind of mini holiday?
I would say we have now reformulated that to say sports day.
Yes.
So everyone comes out in their best clothes and everyone put on the best performance. But for those that go to the office, I don't believe much gets done on election day.
Yeah.
Because you're always scrolling through your social media feed to just see what is happening.
Mhm.
But there are always others who they're not into politics, as they will tell you. And to them, it's neither here nor there, frankly. But for those of us who are engaged in the political process and who follow these things, it's always interesting to see how the different segments of the population treats a day like this.
Yeah.
So in the streets, you will see vehicles going back and forth to the polling station because the political machineries of both parties have been activated. And so you're seeing a lot of activities, a lot of commercial activities also happening. The bars are buzzing with activities. And so it just reflects a kind of euphoria up to 5 o'clock, the close of polls.
Yeah.
And then it's a shift in mood after 5 p.m. when everybody is biting their fingernails
Yes.
to see what the results are.
What the results?
Absolutely. And as it touch 7 p.m.,
Yes.
you usually get a good insight into where the election is going.
Yeah.
And that is where you see the tide somewhat shifts, where one camp starts to show sign of jubilation while the other retreats. But at the end of the night, I'll just implore all Jamaicans that whilst we support our respective political parties, we're all Jamaicans and we should do our celebratory activities in a very dignified way because ultimately, irrespective of the results, we all will remain Jamaicans and we all must coexist together after today.
Mr. Brooks, what you just said sounds so politically correct, but you started up by saying it's like sports day. So people come out there, they come out to do their best and to show their best, and there will be a victor and there will be a loser, or there'll be a victor and there will be losers.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's more than one political party and they have independent candidates. So, well, you know what? Let me leave that for the time being. Get the thoughts of Mr. Diamond first. Mr. Diamond, on a day like
Yeah.
this, election day, is it a quasi mini holiday?
Well, for some it can be, and of course, very controversial opinion I'm about to share is that we should make it. It should actually be something that is compulsory, that every able-bodied Jamaican over the age should be required to vote, right? Because what has happened is that you are absolutely right. Some use it as a little mini holiday because the law permits you up to a certain amount of hours to leave work to go vote. Many of those individuals do not actually vote. So we get to a point where there are some individuals who truly take part in this political process, and there are others who just are bystanders, and yet still they're so affected by the results, ultimately. So we do need to get to a point where we do make this thing compulsory so we can elevate the political literacy of the country so that individuals can be more of participants and stop being bystanders. Because after today, the results, what
Yeah.
we need to implement is a reunification type of festival where both parties can come together and show the unity as we move forward now that the results are in. Because during this particular last few days, last few weeks, it has been very controversial among family members, among colleagues. And we need to have that point of how do we reunite, because there are a lot of things that were said, some of it very unfriendly on both sides. So, how do we get the country back as one as we move forward with an agenda to better the entire nation? We need to start by making sure that voting is compulsory and not be a mini holiday, but your civic duty and responsibility because it will affect you, it will affect the lives of your children, and it will affect the country ultimately as we move forward.
Interesting. Ordain Brooks, should voting be compulsory?
That's a very interesting one, and I do support the principle behind why Mr. Diamond alludes to
But
compulsion.
I tell you what, hold that thought for a second. We'll get back to you after the break because we are upon a break now. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
The time by Grace Good Move is
7:45 a.m.
Attention taxi owners and operators in Kingston and beyond. Beamwell Auto, located at 114C Hagley Park Road, Kingston, is rolling out wholesale prices on all auto parts. Whether you own or operate a taxi, swing by Beamwell Auto at 114C Hagley Park Road today and take advantage of unbeatable deals in our taxi wholesale price promotion. Call us at 876-618-2781 or 876-342-4413. Conditions apply. Beamwell Auto. We sell everything but the gas.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We're in the second watch, and the topic that we're looking at in this second watch are a continuation of snapshots of the news And our guests are Ordain Brooks, policy and research consultant, political commentator, and Michael Diamond. Mr. Diamond is the president of Consumers Intervention Jamaica. Just before the break, Mr. Brooks, you were commenting on whether or not voting should be compulsory. Just before the break, Mr. Diamond expressed what he regarded as or what he said was something controversial. And he said that voting should be compulsory. Should voting be compulsory, Mr. Brooks?
I don't
Yes or no? Tell us yes or no. Yes.
I would say no, not at this point. I think we should pursue what I would describe as greater efforts at civic engagement.
Okay.
Because I think there is significant absence of knowledge and understanding among the population as it relates to how governance works, why it's critical. And so I think we should adopt a more moral persuasion approach to having that education done. And then we can see progressively how does that translate or does not translate into actual improved electoral participation. But I think we have to start with getting the population to be more civic minded, which it's really heartrending when I hear persons, their disposition towards politics, towards voting. It reflects a wider issue as it relates to just their consciousness as it relates to how politics helps to shape what policies are eventually implemented in the country. So I believe there's a lot of room for education. We can later discuss down the road whether we should make it mandatory if we're not making any progress.
Do you think that the electorate or pockets of the electorate should feel compelled to cast their ballot if they are not necessarily seeing where whichever political party it is addressing issues of relevance to them? So whatever they are dealing with at the moment maybe is not really tugging at their heart to go vote. But if they dealt with issues which are not being discussed at the moment in the campaign, if they're not dealing with those issues, then they have nothing to get up and go vote for. Michael Diamond?
Yes, that can also be considered. When we consider the fact of how young this,
I think we're having
young the nation is as far as having the independence to hold.
I think.
Are you hearing me?
Continue. I think we're hearing you now. Continue. Continue, sir.
Okay, good. Considering how young considering how young the nation is, and what the results have been since then to now,
yeah,
we understood that civic education was a part of the curriculum, and we have not seen an increase in participation, nor have we seen a decrease in the call that political parties and individuals are corrupt. And a lot of this comes from ignorance and a lack of information and a lack of knowing how governance truly works. The fact of the matter is that we do have jury duty as being compulsory, and we have other aspects of our society that is compulsory. One of the most important aspects of an individual life of being a citizen of any country is that. And when they refuse that duty and they believe they have the right to just skirt it and leave it up to others, what we do get is a situation where you have an opposition with only 15 members where it is now unbalanced, where anything that the other party would like to do can be done simply because there was a lack of proper participation. The reality is that we're not going to get everyone on board, but with that compulsory will come other developments, and would also do away with a lot of the misconceptions that are out there, because we would be putting things in place to accommodate the compulsory nature of our voting process. So we need to look at it that maybe in the future we could remove it from being compulsory to having that moral suasion. But what we have seen today is that there are too many individuals who are not part of that process, and they allow this political machine to be handicapped because they only want to sit on the sidelines. We have to that's the only way we're going to reinvigorate individuals to know that there is a responsibility. There's a patriotic responsibility for you as a citizen to participate in this process. It's the most important thing that you can do in your life, is to be a part of how you're governed. So it's something that we need to consider seriously. And again, it's very controversial. So it's something that
you said the most important thing.
Yes, because as long as you're going to, the reality is that who governs your daily life? Who do you put in charge of that? And if the individuals that you're allowing to just do what they're doing, because there is no mistake about it, is that the perception in Jamaica has been so twisted that there are individuals who are in our government representing themselves in such a manner that they put themselves as king and queens over the people, and the people do not have that, how would I say it? They don't see themselves as being masters. They see themselves as being, peons and servants to these individuals. Our public servants are just that, public servants. And we have lost that identity and have allowed these individuals to mislead, misguide, and create a situation where we came up with the idea of tribal politics. This is all because of their lack of participation by the majority of individuals, and allow a few to basically run amok with this. So we really need to consider how to get greater participation, even if it has to be compulsory, because individuals need to be responsible for what we are actually dealing with.
So philosophically, the right to do something doesn't include the right to not do it?
Philosophically, in some areas, certainly, sure, there is. Remarkably enough, no one has the right to commit suicide. Isn't that, see? So even though it is your life, you do not have a right to take it. So the fact of the matter is, who governs over our affairs is just as important as we holding them accountable, and we can only do that if we are part of that process.
Of course, the example you gave depends on the jurisdiction. Though Canada, you have the right to commit suicide.
Yeah, but I would.
Dane Brooks, you're coming in.
Yes, I would just say that having it mandatory to vote doesn't necessarily mean that people will vote for a candidate. People can go into the polling station and do all sorts of things on the ballot. So I think I think fundamentally we have to look at change.
No comment.
We have to look at changing the mindset in terms of getting people to appreciate why it is important to vote, because I would extend civic engagement to even just voting, because after voting, there is a 5-year tenure, and it requires an active and engaged citizenry to hold their representatives accountable. And just to go back to what you made mention of earlier, Stokeley, even though you might not see the politician embracing or championing the issues important to you, if you disengage, you have no chance of getting those issues on the agenda. So what you have to do is to mobilize amongst yourselves within communities, form your citizens association groups, and invite the politicians so they know that these are the issues we see as important. But what we have now is that citizens are not working in unison. We have been so taken over by tribalistic politics. But if we go back to that approach where we drive the agenda through more citizens associations, through more associations like the one Mr. Diamond is representing, then you will be able to give the politician no other option but to reflect the issues important to you. So I think those are some important conversations that must be had And there's no two way about it. Voting is critical because it shapes your life going forward.
Interesting. And finally, before we wrap, is election day used as a day when people sit down and, well, what it was alluded to earlier, they become anxious about the results as they are coming in, and some people will either be elated or not elated, and some people will be like, well, it doesn't matter. Or, what is it like for some persons as the day progresses, as the clock ticks? Because is it boredom to some, excitement for some, as people are at home watching the results or wherever they are watching the results? Some people might have even this is a religious media station, but some people might have even, cast a bet, you know, um, as to who would win or who would lose, and they could have a lot of money on the line. God forbid. I don't support betting, by the way. But people might be predicting the results, and if they predict wrongly, they'll be embarrassed. Michael Diamond, followed by Odean Brooks before we wrap quickly.
In all fairness, there's a lot of anxiety that develops at this point, and
Yeah.
again, there are individuals who hold these things very close to their heart. So a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists need to be on standby, and a lot of life counselors need to also be on standby, because this is also one of those areas of activities that brings a lot of stress onto individuals. And as was alluded to earlier, having the right way of dispute resolution and being able to assist with bringing a level of unity or reconciliation among family members, friends, and communities, that
Yes.
has to be considered as well, because
Yes.
it's not like in the past where information wasn't so widely available. We have the digital platform, a lot of information was shared, so it increases the anxiety among individuals. So yes, this is a very mental exercise for many, and
Yes.
we're going to need to be very careful what happens after. So I would say that a lot of those individuals need to be on standby, because counseling will be something that is going to be needed by many.
Interesting. And in a couple of seconds, Odean Brooks, your thoughts, sir.
I would similarly share the sentiments that it is a
Mr. Chairman.
highly anxious period because the stakes are so high. The
Yes.
election is very consequential, and so I believe it forms part of the natural.
Do you think that this election is very consequential, Mr. Brooks?
It is. It is. It is very
Why? Why?
consequential.
Quickly, why?
What you're seeing is the coming together back of the regular competitive nature of the politics. And the 2020 election, it was an anomaly, I would say. And so this election, it's so high stake because both parties are going at it, and many of them have something to prove. So I expect that the anxiety will
I
be.
have to leave it there only because of time. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Thank you, Mr. Diamond. Mr. Brooks, I think we heard you and we understand you loudly and clearly. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us this morning. Never enough time in the morning was. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. And of course, visit our YouTube channel and Facebook page and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. Join me tomorrow as we look at other issues of the day. I am Stokeley Marshall, hanging back to Love in the Morning with the Jokala.